Around you today was a modern-day steel-bit skyscraper born here in Chicago in 1884, designed by William Baron Jenney, an engineer and an architect in our city. The very first steel-bit skyscraper stood a whopping 10 stories tall. Yeah, not that tall, not by today's standards. Since then, skyscrapers have managed to live up to their names, literally scraping the skies. Jump into it off on your right. Towering over the river here and labeled for your convenience, we have Trump International Hotel and Tower. It is the title holder for the second tallest tower in the city of Chicago, clocking in at 1,362 feet. It's about 415 meters. This 92-story building opened up in 2009, designed by Skidmore, Owens & Merrill's principal architect, Adrian Smith. Same designer for the tallest tower in the world, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. It is mixed use and design with retail space, parking garage, restaurant on the 16th floor, luxury hotel accommodations, and of course, a couple hundred luxury condominiums. Next, coming into view up on the right-hand side, we have this plain-looking black building. This is the former IBM building, today largely being occupied by the American Medical Association. We call it AMA Plaza. The building opened up in 1971, designed by Ludwig von Mies van der Rohe, a German architect who came to Chicago in the 1930s fleeing the rise of the Nazi Party, bringing with him this style of architecture today called the International style of design. It's famous for this simplicity, little to no ornamentation. Mies van der Rohe's personal philosophy was less is more. A philosophy he taught at the Illinois Institute of Technology. A philosophy that not all of his students agreed with. One that disagreed with Bertrand Goldberg, who then built right next door. Bertrand Goldberg believed that since there are no right angles in nature, there's going to be no right angles in his architecture. This is Marina City, or the corn cobs of the Midwest, if you will. They are famous for the two 60-story cylindrical towers, which together have 896 pizza-shaped apartments, referring to them starting out narrow and widening as you walk into them. Marina City opened up in the mid-60s at a time when most people did not live downtown. They are designed conceptually to be a city in a city, designed to accommodate your lifestyle. They opened up with your apartment, parking garage, boat marina, restaurant, grocery store, bowling alley, 10-story office building, health club, a radio station, bank, and even a theater now called the House of Blues, designed that your entire life could almost take place in that one city block. Up next to your right, you'll see some people eating outside. Feel free to wave. Wave, guys. Yes, there's something very special about being on a boat and waving to a bunch of people not on boats, even if they are all ignoring us. Oh no, we got some. Yeah. That's Portofino Pizzeria, RPNC, and above that, the American Bar Association, home of course, the American Bar Association. It's lawyers, not bartenders. I know, I learned that from a Will and Grace episode last year. Don't laugh, it's actually a true story. Up next on the right-hand side, Reed Murdoch Center, 1914 by George Nimmons, original red brick masonry and terracotta ornamentation. You will count 6 bays of windows to the right-hand side of the clock tower, but only 5 to the left. The building was first designed and built symmetrically with 6 and 6. But the left-hand side had one of its bays removed. The building was then squished together to make room for the widening of the LaSalle Street Bridge above you right now. Up next on your left, 300 right over there, just look where I point, guys. 300 North LaSalle, Picard and Chilton, 2009. This glass tower stands 784 feet tall, and it is LEED certified platinum. Now, LEED stands for Leadership in Environmental and Energy Design. It is a point system we use to measure the green standard of buildings, with platinum here being the highest certification awarded. Next door is a former coffee storage facility, today home to the Chicago School of Professional Psychology, and up on top, DIRT. Spelled with 2 T's. It's an acronym. Stands for Do It Right This Time. It's an interior design company focusing on problem solving and solutions. Up next on the right, you guys are correct in your first assumptions. This building is big. This is a merchandise mart, 1931, Graham Anderson Quilts in white, great example of Art Deco. 4 elements of Art Deco present here include the Indiana limestone facade, very strong vertical orientation, setbacks near the top, and geometric shapes throughout. When this building opened up in 1931 at 4.1 million square feet, it was the largest concrete structure in the world. The building had its own zip code. It was bought by the Kennedy family in 1945 for $16 million. The Kennedys resold that building in 1998 for $575 million. Oh my gosh. $575 million.
Oh.
Is that pocket change to you guys? Oh my God, I thought that was a lot of money. Chicks are going to be good after this tour. On the right-hand side, we have a plot of land that the Kennedys held on to during that exchange of the merchandise mart. It is Wolf Point. Today being developed by the Kennedy family. They have Wolf Point East over there, a 600-foot tall residential tower. Wolf Point West with all the balconies, a 500-foot tall also residential tower. And between the two, an over 800-foot tall commercial building that they will call Sears Tower, as Salesforce is set to be the primary tenant when the building officially opens up sometime later this year. Now, Wolf Point is also known as a place for bars. After a couple of shots, we raised a tankard of beer, called our city Chicago, a word we got from the indigenous word for the area, Chicago. Come later to learn, they were not talking about the land. Chicago was a reference to the fragrant, smelly onions which grew wild along the banks of the Chicago River. 2020 hindsight, we should not have held that meeting in a bar. Thank you. But as it's doing today, folks, welcome to Chicago, the city that smells like onions. Okay, we need everybody to laugh at all the jokes all the time. Please, thank you. They are directly tied to my self-esteem. Alrighty, folks, we are now in the North Branch. 2 announcements from here on out. Your attention will go on either end of the vessel. You've seen it already. Look where I point, not where I say. They do not always match up. Announcement number 2 here is more of a disclaimer. I'm about to say the words luxury condos a lot. Buckle up. Freaking man. We'll begin out on the left with the residences at River Bend. Completed in the early 2000s by James Stefano, there is a slight bend in the facade following the bend here at the junction of our river, with townhomes, parking garage, and of course, luxury condos. All the condos in the building on this side you guys can see. Built on a thin plot, the west end didn't have downtown views, but the east side did. Up next on the right, the red brick building, 1908 by Frank Abbott. This is the Fulton House, a former cold storage facility for things like butter, milk, and eggs. The walls of it were originally 2.5 feet thick. During the early 80s, Hill Reese took over the project to turn it into these luxury condos. A project that began by doing nothing for a year and a half, waiting for the building to fully thaw out. Harry Reese then goes right next door, always a fan favorite, the River Cottages, 4 numbered to a 5-story. 2 or 4 stories, and notice a nautical theme. Triangle shaped by stairs, portholes, even the spiral staircase looks like it was taken off a ship. Harry Reese loved standing on Lake Michigan. Nautical elements are very commonly found in his designs. On your right-hand side, 1979, Gordon and Levin, we have here the East Bank Club. It is a very large and rather intimidating-looking building, but keep in mind, back in 1979, this river was capital D disgusting. Nobody wanted to look at it, live on it, or smell it. So it's designed to have its back to the river. So much so that the trees, ivy, walkway, planters, even the windows on this facade were not elements of its original design. They were added on years later once we began to finally clean up the Chicago River. This building is a high-end fitness facility. They have everything you guys could possibly need to stay physically fit. A rooftop pool, indoor running track, indoor tennis courts, volleyball courts, basketball courts, locker rooms, juice bars, and I believe they also have motivation. Thank you. They have hosted their fair share of celebrities, including former Mayor Rahm Emanuel, former President Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, and Michael Jordan of the Chicago Bulls, all at one time called the East Bank Club, their fitness home. Did you like that? That was an elliptical. Came out very Beyonce, so you're welcome. Okay, left-hand side. 2002, Papa George and Haynes. We have here Kinsey Park, a development consisting of a low-rise, a high-rise, and 70 of these European-style townhomes. Take note, they each come with their own patio, balcony, and rooftop, because you're worth it. During the early 2000s, one of these townhomes was running over $1 million each. Was a bit of a gamble. So they opened up a model home to see if people would even want to buy them for that. And they did. All 70 townhomes of this development had down payments on them before this development even broke ground. This told Chicago to begin to embrace our river. And we did. This is how. I'm a little bit ahead of schedule, so bear with me. Off on your right, over the bridge, the large red brick building. That is, oh my goodness, 1909. George Newman, same gentleman who did the Windmill Center. This is the former Wallace Business Former Printing Facility. They made things like invoices. That became obsolete with the invention of computers, so they actually turned the building into something we really needed. Condos. Riverbank Lofts, ladies and gentlemen. Riverbank Lofts is a great example of adaptive reuse. This is how we reclaimed this space. We took the structures already here and turned them into something we needed. In this case, what we really needed were condos. These are soft lofts. They have open floor layouts, 10-foot ceilings, exposed brickwork, and ductwork. They're very popular. Okay, chunky segue. Anybody out there know who Montgomery Ward was? Montgomery Ward? Two of you. I like that. But not enough. Anybody out there know who Jeff Bezos is? There we go. Owner of Amazon. Montgomery Ward was a Jeff Bezos for the turn of the century. Montgomery Ward owned a catalog company. It was called Montgomery Ward Catalog. Functioned basically like Amazon.com in book form. Montgomery Ward, just like Jeff Bezos, was crazy freaking rich. Unlike Jeff Bezos, this company did go under in the mid-80s. They moved out. The building is now what, you ask? Luxury condos is correct. Truly luxury. They had a 4-bedroom penthouse not too long ago. Hit the market and sell for just a little bit under $5 million. But again, pocket change to you guys. To the right in the distance, big black building, big white antenna. That is the former John Hancock. When it opened up in the late 1960s, it was the very first mixed-use building in Chicago, clocking in at 1,128 feet. It was originally the tallest tower in our city. Today, that height gives it the title for number 5. And yes, I did say former John Hancock. Right now, the naming rights for the building are a sign of wealth, but we don't build buildings like this anymore. Part of that is true, a change of taste. Part of that also is a cost thing. The building used to be more Montgomery Ward offices. Today, it does stand as more luxury condos. Up next on the right-hand side, 1906 to 1908 by Schmidt, Garden, and Martin, we have here the Domain. The first half of this building has this long line of red bricks, an element from the prairie style of architecture made famous in the nation by Frank Lloyd Wright. It is a quintessential American design rooted in the arts and crafts movement of the early 1900s, designed to pay homage to the long, flat lines of horizon on the prairie. This building used to be Montgomery Ward's warehouse. It was in his 500-page catalog. It was in this 1.2 million square foot structure. And from cradle to grave, you could basically live out of that catalog. Anything from close to expand river districts down here. However, due to the shelving of that project last year, they gave us a green light to put up right here a Bally's Hotel and Casino. Yeah. Well, the next phase is about that. That's okay. I'm just excited for the free drinks. For free, right? So when is it 2011? That's what I thought. That's what I said. That's what I said. And they still kicked me out of the garage. Okay, I got a few of them. It's okay. It's fine. I get it. You guys doing good out there? Good. Love that. Stay hydrated. We're going to jump into a little bit of history right now, beginning with the land that is now Chicago and the first settlers. This would have been the indigenous population, the Potawatomi, the Blackfoot, the Crow, the Miami, among many other tribes, called this area Chicago, which kind of translates to the place that smells like onions, because that was their touch point for the region. The land was mostly swampland, marshland, forest, not ideal for living on. However, they were very familiar with the waterways, used them for transportation. Lining the riverbanks, all they smelled were those wild onions. They called us, and I quote, let's paraphrase, windbags. From that windy city, did nothing but blow hot air all over the place. That is today why you guys call Chicago the windy city. Not because of our wind, it's because of our politicians. We put on the Royal Columbian Exposition at Jackson Park in the south side of our city. We debuted things down there that we still use today. Electricity, Nikola Tesla's alternating current, the very first Ferris wheel, the brownies, the Belgians, the zipper, and the first automatic dishwasher. We We had a second World War here in 1933, the Century of Progress World Fair, housing is now the museum campus. Raising the successful next grade, President was held for 2 consecutive years. That was the Adler Planetarium, the John T. and the Field Museum. Oh man. Let me guess, pink line train. Oh, that's great. Wait, please wait till the overhang for next week. Gonna jump back into architecture off on your right-hand side, the upside-down building. 150 North Riverside Plaza has a footprint only 40 feet wide due to river restrictions on the east and 7 active railroad tracks on the west. The firm Getch and Partners took up the full buildable plot with a concrete core. Think of this like the backbone to the building. It goes from the ground to the top. They then cantilevered out over their plot of land with the largest I-beams they could find. And they were, of course, Belgian, that's right. They then go skyward, wide top, narrow base, it's balancing. To assist with that, they have implemented a mass damper system that is 160,000 gallons of water sitting in 4 tanks on top of that building. The wind pushes the building to the west, the water moves to the east, and vice versa, keeping it completely stable. The same firm, Getch and Partners, just completed Bank of America Tower off on your left-hand side with a pocket-sized park, riverwalk, subterranean cafe, several balconies, and a zigzag facade to take in this gorgeous river location view. Okay, Whiplash, right-hand side. This building and all the buildings off on your right from here on out are built on top of active railroad tracks. Particularly though, this 13-story structure on the back end that's built over active switching track. And due to the crisscrossing train line, it's only anchored to the ground riverside. The far end is supported from above. You guys take a glance behind you, look on top of that 13-story building, you're going to see up there a very large white bridge-like structure called a truss. There are 5 of them up there. The far end of that building is literally hanging from those 5 trusses, and they are only anchored to the ground riverside. Think of it built like a giant letter P. Up next, on your immediate right, we have 2 North Riverside Plaza, Haldeburn Road, 1920s. Very first public plaza ever built in the city of Chicago. First building was over the active railroad track beneath. The Art Deco building itself used to house Chicago Daily News offices up until the mid-70s when they officially and permanently closed their doors. Now the neighborhood I've been talking about, off on your right-hand side, is known as the West Loop. Right now the West Loop here is the fastest growing neighborhood in Chicago, but it was not always that way. Back in the 1950s, it looked like this at eye level. It was train tracks, which made expansion westward difficult. They began a 4-part gateway initiative that became the gateways to the west side, opening up to further development, beginning with the completion of Gateway 1 in 1965 and over the bridge Gateway 2 1967. Gateway 1 and 2 are 2 twin 22-story structures. They are done in an international style of design, made famous in the nation by Ludwig von Mies van der Rohe. The architect here was not Mies van der Rohe himself, it was rather one of his students, the heavily influenced Bruce Graham. Bruce Graham would later go on to design both the former John Hancock as well as the Willis Tower. Now, I love that you guys can see I am not making this stuff up. These are active railroad tracks. You guys are looking at a choo-choo train. But it's specifically it looks like Metro. It looks like a Metro train. That's probably Metro. Metro is a train servicing Chicago suburbs in all directions. We do, though, also have Amtrak trains doing their best to service you. It's a great example of contextualism. That's a big fancy word that means the design of the building is influenced by your geographic location. In this case, heavily inspired by the river that lay before it. Green glass, green river. Bend in the facade, bend in our river. You're also going to notice a water-like texture to the facade as the windows convex. They bend outward, bending that reflection and giving it this rippling water-like texture. Up next to your right-hand side, the large beige building here is the old Main Post Office, formerly known as the former Main Post Office, formerly known as the Post Office. It opened up in the early 30s. It was the largest post office in the world. It had to be. We had 3 catalog companies shipping out of this building: Montgomery Ward, Sears and Roebuck, and Spiegel's. You can't tell by looking at the building today, but in 1996, it was completely and utterly abandoned by the post office. It was then bought by British developer Bill Davies, who wanted nothing more than to turn this building in its entirety into a hotel and casino. Robert knows that Bill Davies wanted to that because he did nothing and began to fall apart. Above these Congress Parkway passes directly through the former main post office to connect to the expressway. And by the late 2000s, the building had such neglect, such disrepair, that chunks of concrete fell onto Congress Parkway, making for a dangerous, high quality, low price. Well, I did that for two people. So great, guys. Behind that, you see a large antenna. That giant antenna is marking the spot of where the Great Chicago Fire first began. That was Miss O'Leary's property. Today it's no longer marking her property. Right now, that giant antenna is marking the spot for the Fire Department Training Academy, to ensure that we never again have to rebuild our city due to a cow, or more than likely, otherwise. Off on your right, down the riverbank here, the beige box is the old Union Station powerhouse. It used to provide energy for both Union Station as well as the former main post office. When the building opened up in the early 30s, it was being advertised as a smokeless facility. You can tell that it is a smokeless facility due to the two very large smokestacks it has up there on top. Yeah, it was not smokeless. What they had here was less extension. The paddle boat rental, kayak rental, boat launch, and public bathrooms that has been closed since, the pandemic, obviously. That opened up as an extension of the very popular Sears Park in 2011. Very popular because it's one of the only green spaces in Chinatown's neighborhood. Chinatown in Chicago is tucked away between two expressways. So access to green space is difficult. It's another great example of adaptive reuse, changing the purpose of a space. It used to be additional rail storage, but with decline of train travel, it became obsolete. This is the original Pinktown Memorial Park. This opened up in 1998 with the famous pagoda, walk through the lawn along the Chicago River. They do also have a children's play area. It is a memorial park named in honor of Ping Tom, a businessman and civic leader for the Chinese community in Chicago. He helped advocate for a $100 million loan so they can build a beautiful two-story outdoor mall, today called the Chinatown Commons. I go down to the Chinatown Commons about 5 times a year for two very important things. Number one, best Chinese cuisine in the city of Chicago. And number two, Korean skincare beauty products. There's a sheet mask down here that has something that they call snail essence in it. I don't know what that is, but look at me. Stunning. As we turn our back to the loft on the right-hand side, we have a vertical lift bridge through a complex system of pulleys in either tower. The centerpiece remains horizontal as it gets lifted directly up into the air. Pause narration, about 7 minutes or so. Nobody quote me on that. I have no construct of time. If I do have additional questions, please feel free to flag me down. I do answer to my legal name. It is John. I also answer to my illegal name, which is Jennifer Lopez. The boat is yours, ladies and gentlemen. I will be back. Scatter. 75-foot boxes squared off, called tubular design. As these boxes rise to the ground, they stop at different floors, making the Willis Tower very strong, but not inflexible. On a windy day, the tower has enough to sway a full foot and a half or half a meter in any direction to accommodate both windshields. And yes, you can feel that sway. We'll talk about emergency or your something. Oh yeah, for one buddy. Your money is thinking 20 eruption to accommodate more finishing. The building itself, you can feel the sway when you're inside, and my roommate who works in the building says, while it's doing the office, you can hear the building squeak as it sways as well. 1987, Fuji College Johnson, we have the Chicago 2017 and LEED certified gold is reported to be earned on the base and the top stable glass. Many banks from here at the junction of Chicago. Designed to pay homage to the blue glass curved side on your right. I'm one in that church. If you come back, why you change this up? Please tell me. I'm too young. Which means now, behind that big bridge, we have a new theme. The theme over there is about the environment, legion of other things, including gathering, play, and rest and relaxation. Off on your right-hand side, the dual facade of 222 West Backer Drive. The right-hand facade with the black bay window is built on a plot B too small for a new building. Placing most of us don't want to be. Next door is 35 West Backer Drive on the bottom floor, the full design of column and in column. The metal pieces you guys see between the windows are all funky. They are designed to reflect the natural sunlight deeper into that building to brighten up the dark interior space. Say that building wants to be occupied by the field event advertising agents. They're the ones that brought you that snack back at the top, Jolly Green Giant, and beyond the up next to the right, the green city on the other end of the bridge, the Vietnam veterans memorial in the state of Illinois. It is being watched over by the 1926 original star building. And this temple up on top there is called Belvedere. The 1920s was a speakeasy called Drexel Lounge. Up next to the right, the white skyscraper here is Mather Tower. Mather Tower opened up in the late 1920s to be a Gothic hidden village. It opened up and was the tallest tower in our city. The title held on to for 2 weeks. The building was also originally designed with 4 additional floors, but the early 2000s it was deemed structurally unsound. They were fully. Now next to the right was the dark green building that had J Party there on top. Ignore that, right behind this. You're gonna see a big undulating light pattern on the top. Sitting back there, opened up in 2009, on your right-hand side, behind the empty plot of land, the tall beige building back there is One Bennett Park. 2018, Robert A.M. Stern, designed to pay homage to the art deco styling of the 20s and 30s. Fully residential in use with the top 3 floors in 3 full-floor penthouses. And the most affordable Hills of Market in 2018 is listed at $14 million. You want to know what that $14 million will get you? Concrete and a view. That's it. We spent $14 million for the raw, unlivable space.